Welcome back. Burns and Gambo. Kellan's filling in for Gambo today. Bobby Marks, I don't know about you, one of my favorite guests that we have here on the station. He's very, very good at what he does. Very good at taking the mundane and complex and breaking it down very simply in a very pleasant, personable way. I think he's very, very good at what he does for ESPN. He did his NBA trade primer today for ESPN.com. It's funny because the trade deadline is still months away, but because the season is officially kind of underway with the December 15th date having come and gone, there is a lot of interest in trades and things like that. Of the Phoenix Suns, he wrote this. The big question, what could Grayson Allen, Josh Okogie, or Yusuf Nurkic with a 2031 first-round pick bring back, close quote. And I loved it, because I think it focused on the actual question, like the real world. The Jimmy Butler thing's fun and it's great for clicks and it's awesome to hear Kendrick Perkins and everybody else chiming in on it. Kellan, you're our Suns guru. You're the co-host of the Empire of the Suns podcast. Is that the big question for the Phoenix Suns going into the deadline? Is that the real question that matters the most?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
That's it, right?
I think, and more so to define it and make it a little bit more simple, the 2031 pick and if they pull the trigger. Because you have committed so many future assets already to the present. And at the same time, you got to stop eventually. You got to calm down. Easy. But you've already gone nuts. So why not just one more pick? Why not just one more pick at this point? Whatever. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
All these swaps here, all these firsts there, all these seconds all the way around over there. Why not at this point do it? It's going to be interesting to see what it winds up fetching if the Suns do indeed trade for it. And that is sort of where we have a little bit of mystery now. It helps that last draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves traded not up into the draft, traded to number 8 overall and took Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky. They gave up their 2031 unprotected first round pick as well as a 2030 pick swap to get in there. So we kind of learned a top 10 pick for pretty much nothing, but that is a valuable asset. So we learned that they definitely have some weight. And part of us is also going to be in do you remember the infamous top 5 protected pick from the Los Angeles Lakers that the Suns had all those years ago in the Ryan McDonough era, and how it was this treasure? Oh,
Gambo and I talk about it all the time as if it were the lost Ark of the Covenant and Harrison Ford was going through the deserts of Tunisia to get it. Yes.
I had a series on BrightSideOfTheSun.com called Top 5 Protected Watch, where I was looking at the Lakers record as well as the prospects the Suns maybe could get if they pick 6, 8, or 10. And sometimes you hype up an asset all the time, and then you just get Brandon Knight, and that's
right. That's
all you get. And sometimes you hype it up, and it winds up cashing in for something valuable. Of course, the unavoidable object in the way of the Suns right now is the second apron restrictions right now, and how if you trade someone like Yusuf Nurkic, it has to be right around his salary, unless you're trading him to a team with cap space. It greatly restricts your ability to make trades. You can't combine salaries. The other team can combine salaries, not you per se.
Yeah.
And perhaps the biggest problem in all of this is that there are so many teams right now, not so much in the second apron, but in the first apron, or if they make one more move, they will be in one of those aprons, and a lot of teams do not want to be there.
Yeah, I actually saw a graph of that very thing a couple of days ago, and I wasn't surprised by it. I didn't know the list off the top of my head the way you would, but I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, that's half the league. That's half the league that is going to be either in the first apron, in the second apron, or just right on the cusp of getting there, to the point where, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but I'll tell you now, Adam Silver was even asked about it last night before the NBA Cup game. It's like, hey, did you guys anticipate that there was going to be this much of a drag on trades when you put in the second apron and the first apron and all this stuff? And he kind of gave some vanilla answer about looking into it the next couple of years and whether they need to change it or not. As for the Suns themselves, it's funny, and I respect the heck out of Gambo's reporting, I really do, which sounds like a butt is coming around the corner, but I do always give a moment's pause every time he's reported in the last couple of weeks or so that the 2031 first-round pick isn't on the table. And I kind of have the same reaction that you do. At this point, Why the hell not? I mean, you've done everything else
the
there
next
is
LeBron
to do.
James could be going number 1 overall, and you give up the pick to get him. And that is the absolutely frightening proposition of giving up a 2031 unprotected first-round pick, because you can look at Minnesota and say, oh, they've got Anthony Edwards, they've got Naz Reid, they've got now Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon and all these guys. Like, they've got this young core. Well, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they're going to build around, and then you realize that's 7 years from now. Like, what is their team going to look? Is Anthony Edwards going to be there in 7 years? If you had to bet, no, right? You would probably bet no.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows what your team is going to look like in 7 years? Maybe the Suns are good in 7 years. I don't know. Like,
Maybe.
There's no way to predict even 3 years into the future in the NBA. Something we're going to talk about later on the show. There are some crazy trade reports coming out of Denver right now. Think about how we were talking about the Nuggets 2 years ago. Like, oh, they're the next dynasty. Like, we saw the Warriors, we saw the Heat. Why isn't it Nikola Jokic, who's the best player in the world at this age, and they've got all these great complementary players around him, and now they might make a massive change to their team in the middle of the season just 2 years later, when a lot of people were anointing them as the team that had the best chance to be the next dynasty.
There's even a certain recklessness, and I'm not accusing the Suns of recklessness, but there could be a whiff of recklessness that comes into the Suns. Like, if you're James Jones, what are the chances you're going to be there 7 years from now? You know, if you're Josh Bartlestein, what are you going to be there? Matt Ishbia will be there probably 7 years from now. But anybody else who's actually in charge of making basketball, will Mike Budenholzer be there in 7 years? And if you fall prey to that line of thinking, you could very easily say, what do I care if we trade our first round pick 7 years from now? I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be the one who's going to be saddled with passing up on the next LeBron. So I trust me, I get it. I really do. But and I guess, again, it falls into that window of, how do you do over these next 15 games? Where are you in the standings? How does it look with everybody back? I saw really good reports about Bradley Beal practicing today and being able to do almost everything. If you make an assessment, hey, we're right there, hey, we're really good, I do think that Grayson Allen and that pick could get you a hell of a return. I think that Jusuf Nurkic, as long as you were willing to attach that pick, could get you a pretty decent return in terms of the money that you could take in back with his salary. I think it's going to have to be tempting if you think we actually have a team that could emerge from all of this if you play well enough in the next month to prove that.
And as we're going to talk about a little bit later, there is no big bad wolf in your conference right now. Yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder are far and away the best team in the West, but they lack playoff experience. We have not seen them get it done in the conference finals, in the finals yet. So why not at this point when things are so wide open, at least in the West?
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.